Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another ASUS Transformer Prime video. This video is a look at a collection of news applications that I use for the ASUS Transformer Prime. So they are available on all Android devices. Some of them are tablet specific, some of them are suited to smartphones just as well as tablets, so just check out each application as I show you them. The combatants today, who are vying for the prize of the best news application to use on a tablet, are News and Weather, which came with the device itself, News Republic, BBC News, Pulse News, USA Today, Tap2 and Currents. There are of course many other news applications available, but I couldn't go through all of them. For example, one that comes off the top of my head straight away is News 360, which was very good at aggregating news, but it was terrible at actually displaying the news, because for me, I wanted to see the whole article on the page, but it sent me to the website after reading a few words, so that's why I skipped that one. So I'm going to show you a few to give you a taster really, and if you have any recommendations, please send them my way and I'll try them as well. Let's go straight into the application, the news application. So, and we'll start with News and Weather, because you get News and Weather with the ASUS Transformer Prime. It's pre-installed on the device. So, if I go into it, we will see first of all that it shows us some weather information. So the first thing you will encounter when you launch your News and Weather application is some weather, and it's hardly displayed in the most fantastic of displays. It looks as if it's more suited to a smartphone display, considering that it only has SMT for the day, so it's obviously seems to have been shrunk, but on a tablet it's been widened out and it doesn't look very good. If I look now on the top left hand corner, we have options for top stories, UK, sports, entertainment, and if I press on one, it will give me a general rundown of a couple of news stories. Again, it looks as if it's very smartphone orientated because there's a big gap between the pictures and the text. And if I press on one of the news stories, all it actually does is just load it into the browser, the default browser on my tablet, and go to a website. So not exactly the most fascinating application, and it's one really that you can put to bed straight away as an application that you would prefer not to use for getting your news stories. We'll move on to the next one, which is News Republic, and to be honest, I'll say it straight here and now, this along with AppyGeek are my favourite news aggregators for Android and the tablet, and this is why. Once it loads up and tells me that it's updated a little bit, you will see that it has a wonderful display base. We have news information down the left hand side with all the news stories, and if I just press on a news, you will see that the story will display on the right hand side, but it's displayed in a fantastic fashion. One picture just to illustrate the news, and then it brings the news story down the right hand side, and the margins are perfect, the text size is perfect, and you can change it if you want to. You can share, put some moods, you can even save it. Another cool little feature is that a lot of the words are kind of tagged, and you'll see some tags at the top here as well, and if I press on one of those, it will actually launch that kind of news topic. So the news topic was Northern Ireland, so it gives you lots of news about Northern Ireland on the left hand side, and then a specific news story in the news pane. We'll just go back to that first one if it will let me. Thank you. No, it went a bit too far. I think I just tried to push that one a little bit too far. We'll just let that load back up. So when you're looking at a news story, you can see all the tags here. A cool feature, but it's probably more of a bit of a gimmick, but it still looks nice, is there's a little world here, and if I press that, it will display all the tags in a fancy globe, and I can just sort of rotate the words around this globe, and then press on, for example, the United Kingdom, and that will launch lots of news topics on the United Kingdom. So you can jump from news story to news story very quickly. It's very intuitive. If I go back now to the home page, you can see that I've added Premier League, United Kingdom. Those are the topics that I've added, but of course there are many others. The one small criticism I would probably say about News Republic is that the content providers are not the best. It could have much better content providers, and I'm just trying to find out how I can look at the different content providers. It's on one of his links. Here we are, providers. If I just press on there, it will show you all the different news providers. And there's not really any, I would say, big hitters in there, such as the BBC, CNN, all the places where you would expect to probably scrape the most popular news stories. That's one thing it doesn't do. I mean, the content is still fine, it's still getting some good sources, but not the ones you would normally expect. The other thing I do like about this is because it's scraping it from many different content providers, you get a good variety. So it's not like when, for example, I'll show you in Pulse in a moment, it's all focused into one area, such as Engadget, and all the news stories are just a little bit too specific, when sometimes you want a broader spectrum of stories on the same topic. And that's what I like about News Republic. Anyway, I've gone on about News Republic for a bit too long, so let's move on to the next one. And that is the BBC News. And I recommend the BBC News because I think BBC News provides the best content. It's has a high regard, world renowned for its brilliant content. I suppose the only problem is that its content is just from one source, and that's the BBC. But BBC happens to be, in my opinion, one of the best news content providers anywhere. It works in that you have your news stories here. You can organise them a little bit if you want to. So I've put technology at the top, sport second, and then you just scroll down and then sort of swipe along to look at a different story on one of the topics. So for example, I can press on that and it'll give me some information about the Heineken Cup, and just like News Republic, the news story is displayed in a very nice fashion. The text and the margins is brilliant, and you can change the size and so on. So BBC News, highly recommend that one as well. Let's go on to the next one, and this one is Pulse. A lot of people rave about Pulse as being the best news aggregator around, and while I admit it is pretty good, I do have a couple of reservations, but let's save the reservations for a moment. I suppose the best thing is that it's probably one of the fantastic areas for getting different news packages. So for example, I've got tech news, sports, news, and if I can add a page, I can select another topic, and you can also browse at the category, and you can spend hours and hours looking at all the different news content providers and where it scrapes everything from, and then choose the stories that you want. So it is excellent in that regard. If we now go to actually the display, as you can see, unlike BBC, it displays the news stories all along, and that's one of the things I don't quite like about it, because there's too much information here, too many news stories. If we look very quickly, what we have 16, there's 18 news stories all on this one screen, so there's a lot of text, a lot going on. I think what should happen is when I press on a news story, you'll see that the news story comes up on the right hand side, and it should really stay like that. I suppose it would be almost the same as the BBC News website in that sense. But obviously it would be scraping the news from lots of other areas. The one other thing I don't like as well is the text and the margins are a bit messy here, in the fact that the margins are probably squeezed in a bit too much. The text isn't quite right. I could obviously change the text by doing that, but when I make it a bit bigger, it just doesn't look right, if you can appreciate. There's too much dead space here. So I know a lot of people may sort of criticise me for criticising Pulse, but it just has never connected with me. It's never clicked with me, and that's why I don't use it as much as, say, News Republic and the BBC News, whichever ones I tend to use more than any others. But again, Pulse is a more than adequate news aggregator, and one of the best. Another small problem I seem to have, maybe just me, is when I'm scrolling across, sometimes it's too easy to instead of scrolling across, you just sort of get it slightly wrong, and then you're scrolling up and down, and it happens too often to me. But maybe I'm just not very good at doing the swipe action. So that's Pulse. What do we have next? We have USA Today. I'm not too sure why I'm showing you USA Today, because I'm from the United Kingdom, so the actual news content isn't that useful to me. I guess it's just another very well put together news application device, and I'd like somebody else to kind of make a generic USA Today application with sort of different news stories. What I like is that you have the tabs up here which quickly change from news topic to news topic, although for some reason it's taken quite a while to refresh, but there it goes. And then the text, I suppose, is a little bit small, which I'm not too keen on here, and I don't think there's any way to change it. And the scrolling sort of moves from page to page, other than a little bit. Yeah, it goes from one page to another. So there are a few problems with it, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is I always like that on the left hand side we have a news story, and then on the right hand side we have news. And I think other news applications should be like that. Maybe that's just a personal preference though. We'll back out of that one. We'll go to tab 2. Tab 2 suffers a little bit in the same fashion as Pulse in that, just back out of that news story, in that the news stories are displayed all across the tablet, but they're kind of bigger news stories, so at least it's not filling you with too much information at once. The stream I found is very useful. It seems to scrape from a lot of different areas. For example, I did a quick search for Huddersfield Town, which is the football team that I support, and in the context of the internet, it's probably not the most biggest news topic around, but it's found a feed from the local paper, so I'm pleased that it has the capability of doing that. However, the big drawback with tab 2 is it's not tablet optimized, because if I tap on a news story, it's just going to send me into the news, and I've had to make the text massive, because if it was smaller it would be very difficult to read horizontally that way. And so if you have seen my Flipboard application review, kind of the same as that. It doesn't quite work on the big screen. But tab 2 is there if you want to use it. And then the last one is Google Currents, which again suffers a little bit from not being too tablet optimized, although it's not a bad effort. It's improved a lot in the sense that syncing is much quicker now, and it brings up news stories very quickly. If I tap on one of the content providers, it kind of puts it into a newspaper format, so I can look at the different articles, which is brilliant. This looks fine. The problem is once you go into a news article, it kind of goes back to that one page of news with no options to sort of move to a different news topic. So I can read that, and then I can also, if I want to swipe onto another story, but there's no option here to move from a story. You can press that button, which brings up a news story, but it kind of cuts out the back of the page, so I can't read the news content here. It'd be nice if maybe the news, again, it's just going to end up like any other news application that I've shown you in this little demonstration, but news on this left hand side and then the article here, and it would be an excellent application. But the problem is, the more times I have to press, the less instinctive in terms of functionality it is, and that is a personal point of view. So I'm happy to show you all these decent news applications and let you make the choice. So I've shown you 7 of the news aggregators there. I'm going to say that all of them, except for the one that came with the device, News and Weather, are well worth downloading and trying, because they are of course free, and some of them have widgets as well, and I'll quickly show you some of those widgets. This is a News Republic widget, which is excellent. Just scrolls up and down, refreshes quite frequently. You press on a news story and it'll go straight into the application, which is fine. One criticism, however, is that sometimes when you do press on a news story, it doesn't actually take you to that news story. It just takes you to the top of the news story, like I think it did there. I'm pretty sure I clicked on that news, but it showed me that one. So that's one small bug with News Republic. The USA Today one is, I keep having to go back to the home screen. USA Today one is absolutely brilliant actually, because you can press on the top bar and that will change a topic, and that's something that I haven't seen any other widget do. And again, that has scrolling news, but the fact that it jumps from one topic to another by pressing the top is brilliant. And if I just press on one, it should just jump straight into a news article, which it does. So again, not bad from News USA Today. The Pulse one, I've made it quite small, but I don't really like this one. It doesn't seem to have any swiping option. I may be doing it a bit of an injustice because I've only got the small widget there, but it kind of looks very similar to the application itself, the widget. But there we are, there's a quick demonstration of Pulse. There are a couple of options for bigger ones there, I must admit. And finally, we have the TF201, which actually looks quite similar to Pulse technology, but I hate this up and down thing here to change the news feeds, and as you can see there, I think I might have just crashed that by going onto Facebook. No, there we are. I just don't like the clunkiness of using the arrow button, although I suppose it is very similar to the USA Today one, but I don't know really, I just prefer the USA Today one. Anyway, that is a very quick whistle-stop tour of some of the news applications for the ASUS Transformer Prime. If you do have any questions, please do ask them. I'll try and answer them about each news one. Of course, I've gone through these in very quick fashion, just to give you really a taste of each one. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon in another video. I'll put all the links for these applications on the on the description, of course. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and take care everyone. I'll see you again soon.